Today we're going to learn to write algebraic expressions. There are some important things that you want to remember. We're going to take a look at adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. You should have your notes out so you can follow along. Please make sure you're filling in your notes as we go. The first thing we want to take a look at is, what does it actually mean to add? When we are adding, what it means is we're putting two groups of things together, or combining. So over here we have 3 apples, and we're going to combine with them 2 more apples. Alright, so anytime we're putting things together, that means that we are adding. Alright, some words that you might see that mean adding: sum, total, increase, but anytime the idea is that we are putting together 2 sets of things, that means that we're going to add. When we add and we're writing an algebraic expression, the order that we write them in doesn't matter. So if we want a number increased by 5, the number we use a variable to represent. Increased by means we're adding, and 5. We also could have written it as 5 plus n. Those two things mean the same thing. When we think about what subtracting means, subtracting is the opposite of adding, so we're taking something away. So we're starting with a set, and we're taking something away. So I started with 5 apples, and I'm taking away 2 apples. That also means that there's something left. I have 3 left. So we start with a group, we take part away, and we have something left over. So some words that we might see, right? Take away, subtract, right? We might see something that is remaining. How many are left over? We might ask, how much did something change? What's the difference between the 2 sets? So all of these things, all of these words mean that we're taking 2 sets of things apart and we have something left over. When we're subtracting, the order matters. The first piece has to be the group that we start with, and then we take away the other piece. So if we're writing an algebraic expression, we might be starting with n and taking away 5. Or we might be starting with 20 of something and taking away a certain number, or an n. Right? But the order that these ones go in makes a difference because they don't mean the same thing. This first piece has to be the thing we're starting with, our group, and this is how much we're removing or taking away. If we think about multiplying, multiplying is a shortcut for addition. So if I'm going to multiply, I have to have sets that are alike. So here I have 3 sets, or a set of 3 apples. I can make a second set, which would be multiplying by 2. So now I have 2 sets of 3 apples, or 3 times 2. You might see words like double, triple, the word of, half of something. But the idea is we're making groups, right? We're increasing still, right? But our groups, we have to increase the same amount, right? So I have 2 sets of 3 things, or 7 sets of 5 things, and that's what it means to multiply. When you're multiplying, the coefficient always has to be first in your expression. If we remember back, the coefficient is the number piece. So we want to write it as 3n instead of n to the n3. And the reason we don't want to do this, even though if we put that multiplying sign in, it looks too much like an exponent. Right? When we use powers, those come after our variable. When we mean multiplication, it needs to go before. So we're always going to put the number or the coefficient in front of the variable. And then our last one that we're looking at would be dividing. When we divide, that means we're starting with a group and we're breaking them into equal size smaller groups. So I have 9 apples, and I'm going to split them up into 3 equal size groups, and each one would have 3. Dividing is a shortcut to subtracting. So if we look at dividing, just like with subtracting, the order that we write them in matters. We might see words like quotient, per, miles per hour. That means to divide. But the order that we put them in matters. So the first number has to be the group. So however many things, we don't know how many are in our group, but we're going to split it into 5 groups, or into groups of 5. Where if I had something like 20 divided by n for our number, we would be starting with 20 things, and we'd be splitting it up into n groups, or groups of that had the size of n. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at writing some of these expressions. So we're going to take an English sentence and we're going to write it as a math sentence. So we want to look for those key words. So for this first one, times means we're multiplying a number, that's where our variable goes. So this would be 5 times n. Remember, I can't use an x to mean multiplication anymore. So just be 5n. I don't need any operation in between it. 20 less than a number. Less than means we're taking something away, and it's 20 less than the number. So we're starting with our number. We don't know what it is, but we're going to take away 20. All right, that's not the same as 20 minus n. All right, 20 less than a number means we removed the 20 from the number. 6 more than a number means we started with our number. More than means we're going to increase, so we're going to add on 6. Right? The expression, the word difference means to subtract. So the difference of a number, we don't know what it is, so we call that our variable, minus 3. The word product. The word product means to multiply. So we're going to multiply 2 and a number, and since 2 is our coefficient, we have to write it first, and the n comes second. All right, in our next one, the word quotient means to divide. So we're going to take our number that we don't know, and we're going to divide it by the number 2. So we're dividing it by 2. For these last few, sum, think to yourself, all right, what does sum mean? Sum means we're adding, so 3 and a number, so we add 3 plus n. A number increased by. Increased by, again, means we're adding on, so we're starting with our number, and we're adding on 19. A number multiplied by 4, and when we multiply, we have to put our coefficient first, and our variable second, so even though it came in a different order in the sentence, when we write it as an algebraic expression, the coefficient has to go first, the variable goes second. 1/5 of a number. Of is our keyword, and it means to multiply, so we're going to take the fraction 1/5, and we're going to multiply it by our number, which would be n. A number decreased by. All right, think about what decreased means. Decrease means to subtract. So a number decreased by 6. So we're starting with the number, or n, and we're taking away 6. The last one, 5 divided by a number. So we're starting with 5, and we're dividing it by a number. We don't know the number, so we use our variable for that. So in each one of these, wherever you have a number, that's where our variable goes, and you could have used x instead of n. And then each one of these gives us a key word as to what goes in our expression.